Yo, 1 2 1 2. This is Bboytech Artist Interview Series, and this evening we featuring my man BusCrates. And me and BusCrates. It's funny that in this new day and age, and the internet has all its phases and stuff and eras. And I remember getting up on BusCrates back in the day on Myspace, and like I just like it's undeniable. You hear the music and you're like, yo, this is flavor. And so we got familiar with each other from then on. And we were just talking before the show started. And he was like, yo, I realize you're from Chicago. That's like a second home. So we're gonna get started right there. And I'm gonna welcome my man BusCrates, 16-bit ensemble. We're gonna get into what the name origins and stuff. And right now, let's just go ahead and welcome my man BusCrates to the show. What's up, bro?
What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Good, man. Good to see you. It's like you said before we got started, this is long overdue.
Long overdue, man. I'm looking forward to this, man. I'm a little bit of a nerd, so you might get some,
That's all good. That's where we live at right there. You know what I mean? That's definitely what I'm all about. So yeah, man. Let's start with like it's crazy. I didn't realize that you spent a lot of time in Chicago. So. But you're originally from, where is it, Philly or Pennsylvania or which?
Yeah, Pittsburgh.
Okay, Pittsburgh. It's a P, right? Pittsburgh. Yeah. Okay, dope. And so how you go back and forth to Chicago? Because we got, acquaintances in commman and stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm always back whenever, before all this nonsense popped off, I was going out there.
Yeah.
At least a couple times a year. So.
That's dope. You was doing shows and stuff out in Chicago?
Shows out there. I did, matter of fact, a couple of years ago, I did the Silver Room Block Party.
Okay. Dope. That's dope. The Silver Room Block Party. I've seeing those online. I could never make it back when those things happen, but I've been wanting to check one out. But who knows when we'll be able to get to do stuff like that again, though. But
Well, it's a beautiful thing that we can come in here into our own world.
Yeah, that's what's up. And and like I was saying, man, that's why I do this is because, we got a lot of stuff going on in the world, but I want to take the time to just kind of slow things down and talk to interesting artists and musicians and beat makers that kind of like this is what we do, right? We entertain people, and I want to put people up on folks that I dig. And there's a good reason. You like a crazy synthesis nerd. you be digging in. No doubt. So before we jump over there, tell me a little bit about your background. Like how'd you end up coming up in music and stuff?
Well, I've always been in the music. Like my first foray into DJing was like I was like a kid. I must have been in like third grade. This was back in like 86 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Local DJ by the name of Sly Jock was playing at this party.
Okay.
And I think I won a dance contest earlier that day.
Dope.
I used to have a little trophy for it and everything, man. But later on, I wanted to get on it. I was like always so fascinated by the turntable, so I somehow found my way up to the decks.
Dope.
Let me get on. I remember it exactly. I was coasting doubles a Cameo, word up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, word.
Like it was last week, man.
That's dope. So you was Renaissance man in it. You run a dance contest, then end up on the turntables later that night. That's like a movie.
All right, shut up, man. Me and my sister used to dance in front of the TV, the old Heavy D videos and stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. That's what's up. And so then from there you start DJing out more, and then is that how you transition? Did you transition from like DJ to musician, or were you always kind of doing the musician thing too?
Well, no, I was a DJ first, and
okay,
I was into the records and all of that. But my brother G-Man, I was hanging with him back in like the early 90s.
Okay,
He was a beat head, and I would always link up with him. He would go dig. This is before I had a single record to my name or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I would run with him, and then we would go back to his crib, and he would jump on. I think he was rocking. First, he had an EPS.
Okay.
EPS, and he got the ASR 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would always like be building about records and stuff. And then he noticed that I had like a little ear for beats or whatever. He was like,
"Yeah,
we got to get you a little joint, man."
Yeah.
actually got my first thing was an EPS.
Okay.
Classic 12-bit joint.
Dope. That's crazy though.
One thing about I gotta say this one thing about Pittsburgh hip hop in like the late '90s, early aughts. ASR was king here.
Yeah, yeah.
You know how everybody else is like got SPs and MPs.
Yeah, and NPCs and stuff.
All producers here had ASR 10s. It was all about ASR 10s.
That's dope though. So do you think though, because it probably was, because I gotta say, when I got my first MPC, it was kind of later. It was like 2002 or something, because I came up as an MC.
Right.
And eventually I started producing beats because I couldn't really find anybody that I could vibe with to make the stuff that I wanted to rhyme on.
Right.
And so that's when I sort of did that thing. But everybody had MPCs, but when I first bought mine, I was like, yo, that was a lot of loot. Like I had to scrape, you know, like scrape up the loot to get that joint. So do you think, because ASR 10 was dope, but I don't think it was as expensive as like MPCs and stuff back then, was it?
Not on the used tip. You could find one on the used tip for like a few hundred.
Yeah, yeah.
In 2020, the prices are like up to high waters, but
of course. I always tell a story about the ASR 10. Yo, I came up on an ASR 10, and yo, for people that might watch this later, if y'all heard this story before, just pardon me, bear with me. But I being in California, I came up on an ASR 10. This dude was selling it for $150. Yeah, and that's what I said when I saw it. I was like, "What?" And I hit him, and he was like, "Yeah, bro, come through, get it." You know, he was like a stoner or something. You know what I mean? So he was kind of faded, and I drove out there at Beverly Hills, and it was like up in Beverly Hills that he was lamped out in a garage of a mansion. The impression I got is that his parents was loaded, and he was a stoner, and he was just, you know, whatever. He had this ASR 10. Anyway, he said it didn't work, and I researched what was wrong with it, and I went and found the parts and ordered the parts. The parts were like $20, and then I got there. He was like, "Word, I plug it up and show you." And he plugged it up and it started working. And he was like, "Sorry, bro, I can't sell it to you." and then as I walked out, he started messing with the knobs and it started malfunctioning again. And he was like, yo. And anyway, I got it for $150. I used that joint for about a year or so. I fixed it and used it for about a year. Yeah, I fixed it with just it was just the potentiometers that needed to be fixed. The faders on it, the slider, the two sliders, right?
I remember
I fixed those joints and it worked like a charm. And I ended up selling it a year later for about $1,000. And I was like, yo, that's the only time I could ever come up like that. But yeah, man, the ASR, I once I saw that, I couldn't avoid it. So you said that was kind of like a staple in Pittsburgh hip hop, huh?
Yeah, it was all about the ASR in the late '90s, early aughts. But after I had a couple years with my EPS, I had my first MPC was the 2000 XL, which is pretty much like the meaning behind my name, 16-bit. You know, it's a 16-bit sampler.
Yeah.
You know, that was me, because I didn't have anybody like around. I was by myself. I was the ensemble. So
yeah, that's dope. But it's a dope name too, though, and it makes sense. Like 16-bit ensemble. I mean, and then but knowing your music style and know how you get down, it makes sense because it's very orchestrated, but it's still it's soulful, it's hip hop. You know what I mean? How'd you like? Who were some of your inspirations for the style of music that you do?
DJ Spinner. Number one, DJ Spinner.
Oh, word. Okay, dope.
Man, back in like I want to say what 96 it was when I first heard him. It was an MC8 remix he did.
Okay.
And then later on, I think I heard it was the De La Soul Stakes High remix. Like all the Ruckus era stuff, man. It was just like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love my, you love Dilla, you know, Pete Rock's the GOAT and all of that, whatever.
Yeah. Of course.
Personally, like Spinner was definitely like the dude for me.
That's what's up. Hey, you know what? Actually, let me ask people somebody was saying something about the audio. Hey, y'all give me a thumbs up or yo if y'all can hear us both, just so we make sure we're good for y'all. Oh, it says audio is stuck over here on Facebook. Oh, well, that's weird. I don't know, bro. Maybe you may have to close Facebook and open it back up. But we also stream it on YouTube too, so you can jump over to YouTube and check us out. Thanks for the heads up, though. So yeah, DJ Spinner, dope. So from there, I kind of want to understand then. Here's my sort of situation with producing beats.
Mm.
MPC, and I got a synth, and then that's kind of how it started. It took me a while to learn how to flip samples, and then once I got good at that, I was like, but I just kind of like playing stuff, and I'm not even the greatest player, but I like the melodies and I like that kind of thing. You know what I mean? And which kind of led me to this thing. What was kind of your way? You started the EPS, then the MPC. Were you like flipping samples mostly, or were you playing stuff, or doing both, or what?
I was like 100% entirely samples. I didn't know a C from a hole in the wall. So, but I always wanted to. I liked flipping samples, but I always wanted to find a way to add like a dynamic element to what I was doing.
Yeah.
Meaning that I was always sampling like Rhodes and synths and stuff.
Yeah.
It was like that was kind of like the light bulb went off in my head. I was like, why don't you just get a synth or get so,
that's what I'm talking about. That's kind of how it happened for me.
Yeah,
you kind of come to feel familiar with the elements that you like to sample, and it's like, well, yo, why aren't I trying to do that?
Exactly, I can do it. Then you're not stuck with whatever in whatever the sample is.
Bro, it's exactly the same. Yeah.
Sample something, but then you could augment it with something your own flavor.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's say it was the first synth I had was it was a Roland Alpha Juno 1.
Oh, dope. Okay.
But the problem was, see, this is that back in the, I was like a rookie with all of this stuff. I didn't know what I was doing with it. It has like the membrane buttons and all of that. And
yeah,
I used to like when I think of a synth, I think of like mini modes that have like knobs
and stuff.
So like all the menu diving was kind of a little bit off-putting. So I ended up like not really getting. Now you give me a Juno 1, I'm good.
Going in, yeah, of course.
I didn't know what I was doing. I went through so much equipment. I had a couple of S950s.
Yeah,
I never learned how to use those. Yeah, I pretty much for the most part, I think the XL has been pretty. You have it, then you get rid of it, you get it back.
Yeah.
It's like a revolving door.
I've been the same way, man. When I moved to LA from Chicago, I sold my MPC 2000 XL, and it was one of my biggest goals. Like, as soon as I settle in, I'm getting my MPC again, and I did. And then I had the bright idea to go all like digital and Logic, and that was kind of, I got fascinated by VSTs and all that stuff, and I was like, I'm going in on this, getting a controller. I don't need all this stuff. Plus, I didn't have as much space. Right. Moving to a whole different state, things, you gotta crawl before you walk, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And then I end up getting rid of the joint again, and it's probably one of those pieces of equipment that's always rotated through my collection of stuff. You know what I mean?
It's back there somewhere. It's my 3000. I use my 3000 a lot, but
okay,
I got a drive for my XL on the way.
Okay, dope. You getting like a zip drive or something, or like a floppy emulation drive?
SD card joint.
Dope. That's dope.
It's not swappable, so I don't have to worry about. Gotta leave it and turn it off, and it's not swappable, so I can just once I install it.
That's what's up. And so I find it interesting what you said about being able to play your own stuff in, and or when you do samples, you kind of sometimes you can't necessarily take it to the next level. And that is literally the reason I started playing stuff more than I was flipping stuff. And I got to a point where I was flipping stuff, and it was funny because all my crew was all beat makers and MCs, and then we would cop beats from people from time to time. And then he was like, "Man, you keep up like this, we ain't gonna be copping beats from nobody." You know what I'm saying? But I found myself at almost like I would just kind of be craving more on the creative side. You know what I mean? So then I started playing with the samples along with them, or accenting things, adding different parts to the samples. But then it eventually got to a point where I had to just be like, yo, I'm creating stuff. And so did you find that when you start doing that, like your creativity leveled up?
Without a doubt. But here's the thing, though. Like, this is part of it too. Whenever I would go dig for records, I would always, I look at the back and see what's on there.
Yeah.
If you see like horns, drums, you look at the back and you look at the keyboard player and it says like acoustic piano, Fender Rose piano, clavinet, mini moog synthesizer.
Yeah, that one. That's real. It's crazy, man. I feel like when it comes to cats that came up in hip hop, it kind of have that certain trajectory like we do. Like, you know what I mean? Coming from the samplers of that day and then moving on to being more composed and getting more into synths and stuff. It feels like that's the story because it is exactly that kind of thing with me. I would look on the back of records and Peter Frampton and the Isley Brothers and all them back in the day, they used to put what synths and instruments they were playing and who was playing them. So you'd be like, Jasper, the Jasper dude, he on here with like harps and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Right? You know? And so then like that would make me be like, yo, I'm checking out these arps. And then I would get into, then I found out that Peter Frampton, always read the back cover. I found out that Peter Frampton, I think it was Peter Frampton. He was like a ARP artist. So they were sponsoring him. And I remember always listening to that kind of stuff. It made me be like, I'm just gonna play the stuff that I want to play. I'm gonna try to make that kind of stuff.
Peter Frampton was rocking the talk box early in the game.
Real early in the game. Yeah.
They were like the two of the earliest cats on that.
Yeah. That's what's up. And it was crazy. And I think people don't realize cats like him went on to produce big stuff like for Madonna and all kinds of stuff. Crazy. Yeah. So back to kind of how you kind of came up. What's kind of when did you start like getting involved? Because you were in a group and performed around it or whatever. How'd that kind of go to? Were you like mostly producing for yourself or just producing because you loved it, or you work with a lot of local artists, or what?
Really because I loved it, man. It was just kind of like it was the thing to do, if I got home from my day job and it's just like I'm get into these beats, you know what I mean? It was kind of like my own world. And I was like that for years. But back in 2007, local MC by the name of Divine Seven actually we went to junior high school, so like I've known him for years. But he was rhyming. And he reached out to me to like do a little EP joint. So we linked up, we did that, and I was like, yo, this is the first cat to reach out to me and like believe what I was doing. So and it felt good to have that under my belt. Like I actually had with like where's just one producer and one MC. It's really what I always wanted when I first started doing it. So I always wanted that. Be like a gangstar or
yeah. And what was the name of the group? Was it? I feel like I know the name of that y'all put out. Was it something Quarters or?
That's later. That's later. That's
later. Okay.
That's East Liberty Quarters. Matter of fact, brother G-Man I was talking about earlier. It was me, him, and Nice Wreck.
Okay, so the dude that reached out to you and y'all did a project together, did y'all end up kind of putting that out, or did y'all ever do other stuff together? Was that kind of the beginning of a long relationship?
Oh yeah, it's out there. It's called Seven Wonders. We did it. It came out in May of 2008, I think.
Okay, dope. Okay. Did y'all do it in the way where y'all were kind of in the space together in the room? Together doing it, or was it here's a track, throw your lyrics on it, and let's get back later?
I would always I would be doing my beats or whatever, and I would always like unplug my MPC and just take my MPC over to his crib, and we would just like record everything right there.
Dope. That's real dope. Do you find that kind of
real thing, man?
No doubt. And there was chemistry, obviously, there. Y'all had a good working relationship. Did you find that it was more creative and stuff, or you kind of felt more connected to the work that was being done because y'all were doing it together?
Exactly. Yeah, man. It's like when you get, because like when you send files and all of that, it's cool, but nothing will ever be like just like being in the room with the person.
Yeah. Vibes
off of each other. You know what I mean?
That
kind of thing.
That's true, because the creative.
Wait, before you get that, there's a joint on that record where I'm actually rhyming.
Oh, word?
Oh,
dope.
I used to rhyme a little bit
Yeah, that's what's up. I'm gonna have to go find it and check it out. That's what's up. And so, like, I want to go like fast forward a little bit. Like, uh, what was your? Because we got this whole couple of degrees of separation with you spending time in Chicago. Before we got started, everybody, we were on here talking, and he was like, "Yo, I didn't realize until recently you from Chicago," and he started naming people he knew. And my man GQ came up, and I was telling Bus like, "Yo, yeah, GQ and I go back years. Everybody go back years with GQ, but I'm saying like in the 90s, I remember being in front of like, I don't even really know the name of the school, but it was in Hyde Park. We was in front of there and we was rapping. All of us was just spitting. It was a cipher. And then GQ comes around the corner with what seemed like 50 folks. Like he came around.
That sounds about right.
You know what I'm saying? And it was funny because I don't know if it was meant to be like this, but it kind of felt like he was walking in the center and everybody was kind of triangled off behind him, trailing off, and it was just like a huge mass of people coming. And he came up and you know, he's got the Jamaican accent, and he's like, yeah, what you good doing? What you doing? Right? He gets into he starts rhyming it, and all of us were just in the cipher. We gave each other a pound, and we've been cool ever since, man. So how'd you kind of come around to getting to Chicago and having that be a place that you spent time at?
Well, first time I went out there, I think it was like 2000, 2000, somewhere around. It was a minute ago, but yeah, I linked up with him. Then he introduced me. Wait, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to make sure I get my story right here. I'm trying.
Oh, that's all good.
I think I knew GQ first, or maybe I knew Ayamas Murad first. I can't remember when I met first, but there's a link. Those were my first two.
Yeah.
Two brothers I knew from Chicago.
Yo, I need to get Ayamas on here and talk to him because I feel like he's one of the dope dudes that, like, I want to put people up on him. Just not that, like, but the thing is, like, people that are that dope, I want to give everybody every opportunity to be able for new people to find out about him. For those that don't know, Almost Murad, he's a dope MC, but I remember him from being able to, he was the dude that even before people would realize how to pronounce his name, you knew that he was the dude that could play drums and spit.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? He would spit verses, fire verses, and be playing drums, and it wouldn't just be simple boom, bap, boom. Like he was really getting busy and playing, and it was soulful. So yeah, that's dope. Did y'all ever do any music together?
We think we might have did like one or two joints over there, but we talked recently, and I definitely want to get up with him at some point.
That's
I want to do like a Chicago kind of like joint, like maybe get him.
Yeah.
I got a couple of joints with Vic Spencer too.
Oh, dope. Yeah, Vic is dope. And that's another thing, like, see, so Vic getting to shine, but like if people hear him, like when he on his underground hip hop stuff, it's fire. Like the dude is fire.
I got a joint on that record he put out, Violence.
Yeah, that's dope, man. Wow. Yeah, I would love to see you do like a Chicago joint, man, like something like that. That would be real dope. Because it's a lot of dope. Like even when you were just saying, you say yourself and Iamos Murad, whether you met Iamos or GQ, I'm like, damn, that would be a dope joint. Just that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, okay, dope. But you actually lived in Atlanta for a little bit too, though, huh?
I lived there for about 4 years. I was there from like October 2012 all the way up till February 2017.
Okay. Then you ended up coming back home?
Yep, came back to the Berg.
Yeah. That's what's up.
I was down there lighting the records up, man.
Straight up.
Loaded with records.
Oh, so they got a lot of spots to dig at down there?
And I placed the stuff I found there. I was just like, what? I mean, this
wow.
$2? This is
check that out. That's wild. I would have never guessed that. But then I have to, if I think about it, I'm like, well, yeah, I guess that makes sense. That's like a lot of black folks, a lot of deep heritage down there. Yeah. Dope. Okay. So you end up like I see you as like a real synth aficionado, yo. And I've slowly watching, I know we check for each other, and I slowly watch, like we'll talk about from time to time, and I'll be like, oh damn, Bus came up on that synth. He came up on that synth. What's your joint right now? What's your joint that's in your collection of synths?
Man,
Or does it just depend on the flavor of the day?
you know what, man? Every time I think about this, and I got all these lovely scents in here, man, but I love my Korg Mini Log.
Word? Okay.
Man, I love that thing.
That's dope.
It's crazy, man, because it's like I have all these other, like there's a Prophet 6 over here somewhere.
Mhm.
There's like all kind of. I see you got that Rhodes back there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. That was one of the biggest things for me, man. I had to get the Rhodes. And I bought it, and then I thought I was gonna restore it myself. And I worked on it. I kind of got there, but then I started thinking, I was like, yo, I got lucky enough to get a 1972 Rhodes Mark.
72.
Yeah.
There's actually Fender Rhodes on it.
Yes, Fender Rhodes. Yeah. Fender Rhodes from 1972. And when I talked to a couple of people, they was like, that's the holy grail of Rhodes. You know what I mean? Like, because what people don't know is over a series of years, Rhodes went through this thing where manufacturing changed a million times, and when Fender was trying to cut corners, and they took manufacturing out of California, sent it down to Mexico, and then all the parts inside were wood, and then they start changing the keys from half wood, half plastic, and some of the other wood changed. And what people don't realize is that's why these different years things sound a little different every year.
Yep,
because
the
was changing.
The earlier ones sound different. See, this was like right at the beginning of the change. This is from 75.
Okay, yeah. And it has a sound. It has a sound to it that's a little different, that maybe the average person wouldn't know the difference, because in general they sound like Rhodes, but I mean there's little nuances.
Definitely little differences.
Yeah.
In fact, I just upgraded the preamp on this. I got this thing from this company called this place called Avion Studios out in Cali.
Okay.
That's your flyer preamp. So this is a stage.
Yeah.
Well, this is pretty much a suitcase, because I got like this stereo, like tremolo.
Oh, you got the tremolo and the vibrato type stuff in there.
And then I can adjust the mid range on it.
That's dope. That's
like trying to mix some roads, like the mid range is always like a problem. To be able to have that control is so nice.
Oh, somebody in the chat said they got a 74. Yeah, that's what's up, man. It's one of those things, man. When I came up on my Rhodes, I was just kind of like, yo, I felt like I accomplished something that day. Like I was like, I got a Rhodes, son. Nobody talk.
Isn't it the best feeling?
It is the best feeling. Straight up. How long you had your Rhodes?
Huh?
How long you had your Rhodes?
I bought this in 2011.
Okay.
A friend of a friend for like $550.
Word. I got mine for like $400, but I still went to Ken Rich Sounds in LA and had him totally like redo it. He overhauled it, because I was gonna do it and it was sounding okay, but when I said, and I think I was starting to say this, I said, and I really thought about it, I was like, yo, I feel like this is like my pride and joy right here. I really want to make sure it's the equivalent of kind of like, how dudes would get classic cars and it would be everything they would do after work. They would go work on their classic car. But for me, I wanted like, okay, I put in some of the work. I did some of the stuff. Let me go to the professional. This dude, Ken Rich, he's the dude, if you know, like, what is it? Who's the people that make keyscapes? It's the software keyscapes with all the synths and stuff. Anyway, that company went Spectrasonics. Spectrasonics actually, I think, used Ken Rich to restore all of their vintage instruments so that they could sample them for keyscapes. And like, I was like, oh, word, I got him. And he was also the guy. I mean, name any incredible player that you could possibly name, and he's been their repair guy, repair shop for decades. You know what I mean? And so I was like, why not catch lightning in a bottle?
This is Ken Rich.
That's exactly it. Those straddles, like, you know what I mean? Basically, for those that don't know, those I think they're called straddles. It's basically kind of like two metal stands that you could put over your Rhodes, and they rest on the Rhodes in a place that's not going to ruin it, and then it allows you to be able to put a second keyboard or synth on top of it, so that because the surface is not flat, it's kind of concave.
Yeah,
It's kind of curved up, like, yeah. So you could put something on it, but I'd never feel comfortable with it. It feels like it may cave that plastic lid in, or like it may slide off or something. You know what I mean?
I actually dented in one time.
Oh, did you?
It was a little bit of a dent, but like since that's why I got these stragglers hold up real nice. Like you should have a clavinet on it. It holds up real nice.
Yeah, and I don't think that clavinet is light either, right? But it still holds it down.
Holds it down. The thing is, it's like they have the Mark IIs are the ones with the flat tops.
Yeah.
Whatever on there. But it's nice to have these because you got like a little bit of an angle.
Yeah.
So you're not just like straight ahead.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that's dope. I talked to the dudes that did the Down the Roads book. They did a Down the Roads book and documentary, and they actually are really cool dudes, man. But they just have an affinity for the Rhodes, so they went and they did a documentary and a book, and they talked to just about everybody. I mean, literally everybody that ever touched the Rhodes that was any kind of important. I feel like they talked to them.
I watched a couple of them. They had Dave Grusin on one of them. I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. So what I dig about your music, man, is that there's something about no matter how deep you get into your playing, like the drums are always smacking like they came from the 90s. Like
guy had that knock, bro.
Yeah.
Man,
that's what's up. So what's your favorite joint to kind of have your drums coming out of? Because I know you do all kinds of ways, and I just saw you messing with the SP950 plugin recently.
Ooh, yeah. Well, my thing for the drums right now is the MPC 3000.
Okay, yeah.
3000. But what I did was like I rocked the 3000, but then I ran it through that SP950 plugin.
Yeah, that's what's up. And them joints was knocking. That's straight up, man.
The secret sauce is because I use Ableton.
Okay.
I use that drum bus to adjust the transients. That's how you get that.
That's what's up. Yeah, I bet you my man D Still probably does something similar. I never got too into Ableton, but I always feel like, I got to take the plunge. I mean, I kind of started in Logic and I just kind of stay there, but now I'm so outside of the box. You know what I mean? That, I just kind of make it to smack how I want it to smack, but you definitely be having that knock.
I can't stand the weak drums, bro.
That's what I'm saying. That's what's up. So let's get into like records that you put out, because you put out a few records and stuff. What's kind of your discography, like the like going back from when you said the Seven Wonders, and then what came sort of after that stuff?
After that was like 2009 was when my first record came out. It was a 4-track 7-inch EP.
Yeah,
it came out. That was my first little piece of wax. That was I remember when that came out, man. We had like a little release party for it and everything. Man. It was like, wow, no wax. That's
that's dope. That's what I'm talking about. You like, I arrived. Everybody kissed the ring, at least for the day.
Yeah, it's like when you get something tangible under your hands.
It changes things.
It's crazy. Let me see what was after that. Oh man, you have me because there's so many records out there.
Yeah. I mean, you end up collabing with a lot of people too.
Yeah.
Dope.
A few. I mean, for the most part, it's been me, Dolo, except for like whenever I do the East Liberty Quarters thing, my brother G and Nice Rec,
Okay.
Or I would do like what I do is I would do a lot of remixes for people.
Hey, you know what? I feel like, so I was talking to 80s Babies on here recently too. I did a similar conversation with them. And tall black guy who was talking, and I was talking to him. He got invited to Jazzy Jeff's playlist.
Mhm.
Have you ever been to Jazzy Jeff's playlist? I feel like you would be one of the guys that they would pull in and
I
get
was,
busy. Hmm?
I was there in 2018.
Okay, so talk to us about that experience for the playlist.
Man, that was crazy, man. That was like, but I had already known Terrell. I'd already known him.
Hmm.
Let me see who else. He was there. My dude DJ Harrison.
Okay, okay.
He was there. It was just wild, just seeing all. It was like a who's who of like all these dope people.
Right, right.
Spinner was there, of course.
Yeah. And does Spinner know that he was one of your inspirations?
Oh, I tell him all the time, man.
That's dope. That's dope.
I hit him up every once and I'm like, yo, bro, this is I've known Spinner since like 05.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Dope.
He's the one who got me. He's also the one who got me hooked on Brazilian records.
Oh, see, you going deep in when you get into Brazilian records. They kind of change the way you listen.
Yeah, I kind of had to tap out there, especially now they started to get prices. Like,
yeah, of course.
I bought back in like 05 for like $60 and $70. Now they're like $200.
That's crazy. Wow. Man. So when you so I remember and this is back to the playlist thing because I ran across these dudes in Sweden years ago, and they did something called a 24-hour beat tape. And what it was is they all got together. It was maybe half a dozen of them or more, even maybe 10 of them, and they just kind of, ended up at one person's crib, and they decided, yo, this weekend we making a beat tape, a mixtape, putting it out. So we just gonna all get together with musicians we admire, and they just was like 24 hours. They was not getting any sleep. Some dudes was around playing guitar, some dudes was playing keyboards, other dudes had whatever DAW they was, and they beat machines and stuff. And these dudes was in Sweden, but it was such a dope beat tape. And what they kind of documented some of it where they were like waking people up in the middle of the night, like, yo, you ain't sleeping, we making this beat tape. You know what I'm saying? And then at the end of it, when I listened to the beat tape, I'm like, actually, this is really dope. So when I saw that Jazzy Jeff was starting to do the playlist, it felt like that same sort of vibe. Is that kind of the vibe that it's on? Like everybody just kind of around creating and making this music in the collaborative sort of nature?
Oh yeah, there was like, sometimes there'd be like little people over here working on some stuff, some people over there.
Yeah.
When I showed up the playlist, I had I was ready, bro.
Yeah, straight up.
I had my own power generator, like a little.
Oh, damn, you was on the playlist campgrounds.
I could sit up in the middle of wherever I wanted. Like I had that. I brought. What else did I have with me? I think I had my mini log was with me. I had my micro Moog was with me. I'm like, Jeff looked at that micro Moog. He was like, "You crazy boy." I was rolling, man. I was like,
that's what's up. You meant business. You came through.
Yeah. My man Seb Zillner was there. He's a really dope woodwind instrumentalist. He plays sax, flute, and everything.
Oh,
he's real dope. I got to kick it with him.
Yeah.
I mean, because some people I knew, but there were people I knew of, and we knew of each other's work and whatnot, but I never actually got to meet them.
I see.
So that was really cool. Like, and then meeting Pharoah Monch was just like, whoa.
Oh yeah, that's crazy right there.
Like, still was like, yo, I actually met Pharoah Monch. It was crazy.
Yeah, I know it's like that. It was actually like that for me when I met Prince Poe. I did when I was with the Beat Monsters. We did a record with Prince Poe, and we just kept tripping like, yo, bro, we did a record with Prince Poe. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's Monch though, boy. Yeah. Monch is a robot.
He is.
You know what I mean?
Too. Bumpy Knuckles was there.
What? Bumpy Knuckles? That's crazy.
Yep.
So what was the one thing you could say you took away from that will be with you for the rest of your days?
I mean, really, just being there and just being around all those great artists and all the energy that was, you know, around there. And I would be remiss if I didn't shout out my brother Ian Wallace and
Okay.
my man OP. You know,
Dope.
he works. My man OP works for Serato.
Dope. Dope.
Yeah, those were my because Ian and I we were a production duo called Extra Medium.
Okay.
Awesome stuff.
I feel like I knew that. I feel like because and I've been familiar with your music long enough that I probably remember when that was happening. It just sounds familiar. That's dope. That's dope. Y'all still do stuff together?
We do every once in a while. We get we'll like switch we trade files. And we got a couple of joints in the can that we wait and see what's gonna happen with them. But
that's what's up. And hold on, I'm gonna pull up this picture because Bastard Jazz Recordings was that was a label you were on?
I'm on the label I'm on now. They're my record's coming out later this year.
Okay. Well, Cook it. Tell us about the how'd you hook up with Bastard Jazz Recordings?
Well, my first thing with them was, I don't know if you remember, Tall Black Guy put out a record called Tempo Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
It was a comp with a bunch of beats on, and that was on Bastard Jazz. I had a track on there.
Okay.
And then I did a 7-inch for Voyage Fantastique, which is my man Wally P's label up in Canada.
Okay.
And Bastard Jazz distributes them.
Okay.
So they eventually reached out to me, like to do like a my own like full album. So
dope. So that's actually dope. How long you been working on the album?
It's almost done. It's so close to done.
Okay. So what can we expect from the album? Is it instrumental? Is it like cross genre? Or tell us about it.
Like because I do the electro funk stuff too. That's kind of like my thing. Also, it's going to be more in that vein. It's going to be instrumental, but there's going to be a few jams on it that has like some guests or whatever.
Dope. That's dope. I'm really looking forward to that, man. I'm gonna have to keep an eye out. Yeah. See, you know what I love about these labels like Bastard Jazz, just any sort of boutique labels that are curating like really special projects. It's that moment in time that you gotta kind of, those moments won't get back. So like that's why I mean tell people you gotta patronize those kinds of labels and stuff that do that, because then they'll be able to do more and bring us more dope artists like yourself. So that's dope, man. Congratulations on that. You say it'll be later this year?
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
The single for it came out in February.
Okay.
The single for that track I did with my homie Sally Green. She's on there.
Okay. Hey, you know what? There was a project you did. Excuse me. It was a cassette, and I could kind of see the artwork. It was like black and white, but it was a cassette. And what was the artwork you had? It was a cassette that you put out a couple years back, right?
This one?
Yes. Yo, that's what's up. Yeah. Yeah, home again. Yeah. What label was that on? Was that you put it out yourself, or was it on a different label?
It's on It's on Thrashwell. Obliv had some stuff on that label.
Okay. Hold on, let me expand the screen. Hold it up again.
Oh yeah. Bam.
Yeah. Yo. Yeah, that's a dope joint. How'd that joint come about? Because I feel like albums are kind of like capturing moments in time. And sometimes if you don't get a chance to capture that moment in time, then the time passes, or either you kind of always reference it back and be like, that's what I was on right then. So what was the vibe of that moment right there when you were putting that joint together?
It was actually like, it's been in the works for a while, like because they had reached out to me like a while back, like, yo, let's put together a tape. I was like, okay. But at the time I was still in Atlanta and I was kind of going through some stuff, whatever. So I didn't really get to, dive into it. But then it reached out to me like sometime later, and I was like, I'm on it.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Turned out really well. As a matter of fact, you can tell how much I love the mini mode because like if you look at the cut, that's pretty much what that's
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, that art is incredibly dope.
Yeah,
Real.
he nailed this. This is exactly what I wanted, you know. This and then, but to check out the back though, you see how I did the back with the MIDI ports and
Yeah, that's what's up. I mean, it's like so on point. I remember when you first, you know, kind of debuted that art. I just was looking at it like, yo, look at this. This is really dope. But see, that's what I feel like. You know, what combats the idea of how the music industry changed so much over the last 20 years. And I say the last 20 years because I mean the top of the 2000s, give
right.
it a couple years in, that thing changed all the way. But what's so dope about now is that um, music, I don't feel like it should be looked at as just like this thing that you can always get for free and it's just throwaway things and it's always this millisecond of time that people listen to it. Yeah, I heard that. And there's nothing special about it and to people. I feel like when you do a product like that and you put your heart into the art and you know what I mean, you got these joints on there, you made sure that it sounds just the way you want to hear it and the artwork and all of this. It's like a concept. It's a whole sort of presentation. I think that stuff is like real special. That's kind of what keeps me engaged with stuff.
It's important, man. It's just a part of the art. It's a part of the art for me, man. Like you know, just like you know, back when you know, whenever before all this stuff, I was always out digging. I mean, even just looking at the back, looking at the artwork on records, and reading liner notes, and which is kind of lost art now. You know, with
Yeah.
maybe I put some liner notes with digital stuff, but it just isn't the same experience.
Right. It's true.
It just isn't. But you know,
Yeah. I always feel like maybe people don't check for that in the digital domain of things. You know what I mean? Like maybe you might have some people that are really astute and want to know what's what. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Yeah.
that's how I stay on top of it. It's like, okay, like, this record is out. Like, who's playing on this? Like, what's you know, what's the liner notes say? Or that kind of stuff is invaluable to you know to the listening experience. As far as you go by, just think about back in the day when you go to the record store. Even just for us, like '90s head, just like say for example, '92, we go pick up Gangstar Daily Operation, which just had its 28th anniversary.
Yeah.
I'm saying we go get the CD of that, and then you throw it on, throw it in the deck, and you sit back and you read the liner notes and flip through it. You know.
That's it. Exactly. I remember, I literally remember doing that with that record, sitting back and just reading it while it played out. And I remember also there was a change about this. Interesting you bring that. There was a change around that time where before then it was straight up like hip hop had all the tempos. There was it was like Running Man, people was doing Running Man and stuff, and it was like you could have fast tempo hip hop, you could have slow tempo hip hop. But then something happened around 92, 93, and like Gangsta albums they released, and it was like all in the 90s BPM range, you know what I mean? And it was like a vibe. I felt like that's when that classic era literally turned on.
92 to 95. It was kind of like the sweet spot for that kind of. But I missed that, man. Like that late '80s era when people were doing like the faster joints. Like I kind of.
Yeah. Because I mean, that's indicative to that era right there. You know what I mean? Sometimes when I've heard you upload joints that you just jam into it, you playing, say the Mini Moog or the Model D or something to it. I'm like, man, this takes me back to the '80s, like the like soulful funk stuff that you do.
Yeah. That's my thing. That's the thing that we started doing with ELQ, with East Recorders.
Okay.
Getting into that back in like the mid 2000s, I would say.
Yeah.
Like in 2009 was like my first taste of owning a Moog. I had a little fatty.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's a classic joint. I had a little fatty too, a sub fatty. I had a sub fatty actually, which is kind of different than a little fatty. But yeah, those fatties, I feel like the whole fatty line introduced a whole new generation to Moog synthesis and analog synthesis that we just kind of wouldn't have been up on some of that stuff beforehand.
I wanted that Moog so bad, man. Like I was living in New York at the time. I stayed up there for like about half of 2008.
Yeah.
I wanted that Moog so bad. There were records that I had sold, and I could track them money to get.
That's what's up.
James Mason, Rhythm of Life. I had to sell it to get my Moog, and I'll never see that record again.
Yeah. Well, it was a worthy sacrifice. It was a sacrificial lamb for that Moog.
Because when I got that thing in 2009, I hit the ground running with that thing. My beats got to be so bleepy and bloopy, and that's kind of like my thing. I like bleepy bloopy kind of sounds from, listening to all those old George Duke records.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So with George Duke and probably even Herbie Hancock.
Of course,
yeah, because sometimes I listen to Herbie Hancock, man, and my mind be blown. Like still to this day, you can listen to some of those. Like I feel like that music is current. I listen to it in the whip. You don't know.
I play it all the time. Hold on, let me see. Is it in here? Is it in here? Oh, it ain't in here. I thought I had it. I was trying to find my copy of Sunlight because I thought it was like right here in this box, but no, I must have moved it. I don't know.
And so how'd you start doing, like when you start doing kind of like that soulful funk vibe, did you kind of get on that from playing along to records, or like what kind of made you get into that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's just something I kind of picked up naturally because I do everything, I play everything by ear. I don't have any like legitimate like classical training or anything. I kind of vibe and find, I know a little bit of theory.
Yeah.
I kind of just like take the little bit of theory I know and just expand on it and move it around or whatever and try to like find my own. I just get in where I fit in with it.
Yeah. Well, you know what that movie said, Miles Davis movie, the dude was like, it was like the movie is all about this guy, this interviewer following Miles Davis around as reporter, and he was at Miles' house, and Miles was playing a piano like that's his first instrument, and the dude was like, "Wow, I didn't know you knew how." Because this is later in his career, he had already done Bitches Brew and all that stuff, and this dude was like, "Wow, I didn't know you knew how to play piano." He's like, "Did you take lessons or something?" He's like, "Nope, just woke up black, knew how to play."
That's wild, yo. That's pretty much what it is, man. I just like, and especially like, when I started doing that, I another one of my big influences, the late great Kashif, rest in peace.
Word, Kashif.
Yeah, I'm a real big because he's probably the number one reason I wanted a mini Moog.
A word, okay.
His mini Moog bass lines are just like, what?
Yeah. That's what's up. Yeah.
That first record, when it kicks off with "Don't Stop My Love," the bass on that is just bass lines are always just like, wow.
Yeah, that's for me. That's the anchor. That anchors the thing. Like people be telling me all the time, like, "Yo, when I hear your beats, the drums is knocking, but then that bass, like I'm like, that's always the thing for me. That anchors things for me. That to me is the part that taps into the soul. You know what I'm saying?
Matter of fact, there she is.
So did you feel like there was a big sort of difference between, and I feel like there is, I just want to know what you think about between going from the Little Fatty to the Model D?
Well, the thing is, it's like that's kind of an unfair comparison because this thing has 3 oscillators.
Right. Yeah.
But if you turn off that oscillator and match it up with the Fatty, it's just to my ears, they're kind of close, but nothing will cut through like a mini.
Yeah, I believe it, man.
But I gotta say though, the Voyager, I don't have one, but I play on the Voyager has more low end.
Yeah, the Voyager is, to me, I feel like there's a certain roundness to the Voyager that I feel like the Mini is has a little more edge.
Right.
You know what I mean? I had a dude from Studio Electronics, my man was over here, and he was playing my Voyager, and he was like, Where's the edge? Where's the, like, what happened to it? Why'd they do it like this? And what was funny about this, because Studio Electronics.
Shout out to Studio Electronics too.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Because they got long lineage of like at one point they were known for taking people would come to them to get their Model Ds put into a rack mount.
Yep.
and then they started modding them, and then they started making their own and doing derivatives of them, and that's how we got the ATX and all those different things that they did.
SE1.
Yeah, SE1 and all that kind of stuff.
They had a 1X, was it?
Yeah, yeah. And they was one of the first ones to do that sort of, it was a rack mount with membrane kind of button thing. And
yeah. What was the one they had? Wasn't the one they had where you could like have like some kind of cartridges or something you could put in it?
Oh yeah. Is that the Omega 8 or something like that?
You're right, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember, but yeah, they got some crazy stuff. So when you think about that sort of lineage of stuff that they have, when he was literally in this room playing my Voyager, and what he was playing, I was like, "Yo, that's cool." And he was like, "What happened to it? Why don't they have the growl of the Model D?"
So you have the Voyager now?
Huh? Yeah, I have the Voyager now. Yeah, it's over there.
On top of your roads, that's what, a matrix group?
Yeah, it's a matrix group.
Okay.
Yeah. And you know what? I have a love-hate relationship with the Matrix Brood. I hate to say that, but it's kind of like I love it sometimes, and other times I'm not interested. But I got to tell you, like, there's stuff that I was just doing a couple weeks ago, and I start throwing the Matrix Brood in the mix of it, and I was like, yo, this thing sounds like its own thing. That's what I actually do love about it. It sounds like its own thing. It don't sound like, there's so many synths that come out, and they're like sort of like the mini. You know what I mean? It's sort of like the Model D, or come out and be like, it's sort of like the Prophet 6. Like, this thing is like the Matrix Brute.
I feel like Victoria in general kind of has its own sound, because I used to have a what's the really little one, the micro.
The micro Brute.
Yeah, I had that, and it's definitely its own thing sonically. It doesn't seem to set out to replicate.
Yeah.
It
doesn't. It has its own character, man. And actually, that micro one was my favorite one out of all of them. It has a character like specific, like the Brutes have a thing.
Mm-hmm.
The micro is like its own thing. Like it really has its own, because it has that knob that's a sub one side and a fifth on the other side. You can kind of dial it in one way or the other, and it really kind of you can really dig in, man. Yeah, dog. That's what's up. So you went, do you ever look around and be like, yo, I done went in on the synths. I got synths like all over the place.
Well, my thing now, man, now that I have all of this, is like, I was just thinking about this the other day. It's like, I'm not chasing any new piece of gear. I'm pretty much like maintaining and upgrading the stuff I got. Just like I said, I just got this preamp for the Rhodes. Got the drive for the XL coming. Mm-hmm. Trying to think what else. Those are really like the only two things. Oh, and I also got some legs, some new legs from my Rhodes coming, because I got.
Oh yeah.
The way I got it set up is kind of crazy. It's like I have like legs on the front, back of it. I got sitting on like a keyboard stand. That's how I have like all these pedals and stuff.
I see.
Find a way to finesse this and get it to where I get everything on the legs, and it'll probably just be the Rhodes, the clav.
Yeah.
Find another way to rock the pedals. But
that's what's up. I got to get legs for mine too. But that's an interesting thing. I think I've noticed the years, like you use unconventional things and make bangers out of them. Like I'll look up and be like, yo, what is even that? Like that you pointed to something like a drum pad or something back there. But do you find that you have days where you're doing production and other days where you're doing more sound design for production, or does it all kind of blend together?
It really all kinds of blends together, and sometimes it's like one will lead to the other.
Yeah.
Like sitting here sound designing or something, and then I'm like, oh, wait, let me try it. Like a lot of times, even with my Instagram posts, a lot of times those are like what I like to call happy moments of experiment.
Yeah.
Oh, snap, this does this. Let me, and then I'll post it or whatever.
Yeah, that's what's up. Well, yo, man. So what as an artist and producer, like I know you got your album on oh, hold on, because I'm forgetting the name already. On Bastard Jazz, you got that coming out. And what's in the future for BusCrates?
I don't know. I have to see. I'm pretty much just kind of when I'm focused on, once I get that done, who knows what's next. I know I'll be in here creating and seeing what happens artistically in here. I'm just like I said, cause I'm still getting used to all this stuff. Cause I've got a couple iPads in here. I've been using, on the
Yeah.
iPad, and messing around with that. I even just recently went back to using my 4-track.
Okay.
This is kind of like an era of experimentation and finding things. Really,
That's dope, man. That's dope. Oh, yo, I'm looking forward to hearing more. And honestly, don't let the thing that you said about doing like a Chicago joint be just an idea. That needs to happen. And let me know if there's any way that you need anything from me or I can be involved. Just holla, I'm on it.
that's a wheel that just spins in my head. So
Yeah.
that isn't going anywhere.
That's what's up, man. So, well, hey, man, this has been good. We just about at an hour, and I appreciate you coming on the show to talk to me, man. And it's important to me to, like I said, to introduce dope artists to people that may not know. You know what I mean? And you're one of those artists. If I had a list of artists, you definitely on there, like people like Tall Black Guy, D Still, and you and a few others. So yeah, I appreciate you coming on, bro.
Thank you for having me, man. Like I said, this was definitely long overdue, and I was just like, when you hit me to do this, I was just like, all right, we doing this.
That's what's up. That's what's up. But yeah, we'll mess around, do it again at some point, and be safe in these crazy times, man. Stay well, bro.
Yeah, and then wait, look at our backgrounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. It's similar, right? No doubt. It's supposed to happen. No doubt. And yo, thanks for the people out there. There's a few people out there checking it out, and for people to watch it again. Where can they find you at?
Instagram, Twitter, just BusCrates. Just type in BusCrates. I'm on.
That's what's up.
Yeah,
there it is. And this picture is ill, man. And I'm gonna be watching for that record on Bastard Jazz. So yeah, like I said, thanks for coming through, man. And thanks for y'all watching. And we're gonna call it one. This is Bboytech Artist Interview Series with BusCrates. All right.
Peace.